On the 21st of June, RMT is calling out all grades on London Underground for strike action in our dispute to defend our jobs, our pensions and our working conditions. London Underground management have told us that we're jumping the gun, yet at this moment they are actively considering 16 specific proposals from the Barber report to attack your pension. Typically, the attacks identified by Barber would result in a 30% drop in your accruals going forwards on your pension scheme. We're not going to accept that. At the same time, management are imposing 600 job cuts on our stations with no negotiation. They've ripped up the framework agreement for our members on the special requirements team and revenue sections. They're now going to have to work when they're told, where they're told. No one is going to escape the axe here. We've spoken to London Underground about this at ACAS and asked them how much these station attacks will save them. They told us £35 million, but their target is over £500 million of savings. They've told us that they're going to look at every single function to try and find these sorts of savings. Our message to our bosses and to the Mayor of London is very clear. You need to take a position in favour of your staff. You need to stop imposing these attacks from the government, stop putting our conditions into a managed decline and fight alongside us for a properly funded tube network. Management and the Mayor might not be prepared to do that. RMT is. On the 24th of June, TfL's funding arrangement with the government expires. If the new funding arrangement's anything like the old ones, it'll be based on more demands for cuts on services and attacks on staff. We're striking on the 21st of June to tell our bosses not to expect us to take more attacks on jobs, pensions and conditions in return for a funding arrangement on the 24th. TfL say that the funding gap is £2 billion. But where does that come from? Back in 2010, when the current Prime Minister was the Mayor of London, TfL got the equivalent of £1 billion a year as an operating subsidy from the government. If you were to restore that subsidy back to 2015 when it went all together, TfL wouldn't be sitting on a £2 billion funding gap. They'd be sitting on a load of reserves. There would be no funding crisis in TfL, and that's what's got to happen. They've got to restore the subsidy. Where could it come from? We're told that the country's short of money, but it doesn't seem that the rich are short of money. We know that 4 banks in London at the present time are looking to pay out bonuses of £4 billion to their best paid traders and executives this year. £4 billion in bonuses to super rich people. The British Chambers of Commerce have told us that London Underground adds about £18 billion of value to the London economy every year. So what sort of fool would say that it's not worth investing £2 billion of public money to create £18 billion of added value for the London economy? We're absolutely clear about this. There is no funding gap in reality. This is a government decision to make cuts, to attack you, your terms and conditions, your jobs and your pensions, and we are not going to accept that. During the 1970s and 1980s, London Underground suffered declining finances, and as a result, the number of people using the system also declined. After the tragic King's Cross fire in 1987, the Fennell report highlighted the need for investment into a safe and modern transport system, and that did follow throughout the 1990s and 2000s. But now we face another situation of managed decline, the potential for decades of declining finances for London Underground, cuts in services and compromises to safety and security. The RMT is not going to have that. On the 21st of June, RMT members on London Underground will be taking strike action again, demanding no detriment to our pensions, no job cuts and no changes to our terms and conditions. We'll be taking that strike action on the same day as 40,000 of our brothers and sisters on the mainline railways who are fighting for pay, against job cuts and for their terms and conditions. RMT is not prepared to accept the destruction of the rail industry. We're not going to accept the managed decline of Transport for London and London Underground. You can play your part in this. You can strike on the 21st of June. You can talk to your fellow workers about why they need to support RMT's fight against the managed decline of Transport for London and London Underground. You can turn up on a picket line and show the bosses that you're not prepared to accept, that you're going to give up your terms, conditions, jobs or pension to save them money. Together we can win this dispute. Solidarity.